Protocol monitoring and operational alerting are critical when it comes to ensuring that best practices are followed, compliance is maintained, and overall risk is minimized. Now, these things are amplified in healthcare as patient lives can be at stake. So, quality of care and patient management are of critical importance within a hospital's emergency department. And due to the severity of these consequences, providers need to be notified when non-compliant or risky behaviors are taking place within their hospitals and to be able to take action prior to those risks adversely affecting patient care or posing an audit or payment issue. We'll start by taking a look at an unexpected scenario which has occurred with patients in the emergency department and move on to uncover violations which are being reported within patient admissions from the emergency department into the main hospital. Now, all this analysis is tied together by the ability to alert responsible parties while the patients are still under hospital care and not having doctors and staff have to wait for a post report after the person has been discharged. So let's start by taking a look at our process instances, which in this case represent a patient stay within the emergency department. So we can see each one of these horizontal lines represents a separate encounter with a patient in the ED. These icons represent an event or a step that's happened along the way as a part of their stay. Now, I want to ask a question about a specific scenario. Let's try to understand whether or not we've got any lab results coming back for our patients with no record of a lab test ever having been ordered. So I'll build out that logic and we'll say what we expect is a lab order, which is then followed by a lab result logically. But in this scenario, we've said how many times do we not have a lab order, so this has not happened, yet this lab result has occurred. I quickly search on this, and I'm returned with the 391 patients that have exhibited this specific scenario having lab results without an order. I can make this even more complex, so let's add to this query and say, I'm really only concerned when the patient arrived in the ED, only when it came on a Sunday, so very specific. And you know what? One lab result without an order, I can explain that. Let's only look at those that have two or more lab results without an order being placed. And then lastly, let's say that that patient was then admitted into the hospital, but the time difference in between that last lab result and the patient admission is greater than 30 minutes. So if this represents a non-compliant or a risky set of behaviors, I can now tie all these together, search based on this specific scenario to understand if this is happening in my ED and get the response that yes, it is. Here are the 39 patients that exhibited this specific set of events. Here are all the different details about each patient, what provider was assigned to them, where did they come into, and so on. So I've got the ability to now drill in and start to understand a bit more about these, what I've deemed as non-compliant behaviors. Now that we understand that these non-compliant risky behaviors are occurring, we probably want to implement some things like best practice and go retrain our staff to make sure that we're not completing those specific scenarios. The next thing we can do is start to monitor and alert based on just that. So using the protocol analysis module, we can look at things that we expect should be happening, right? Following protocols, what we expect our employees to do. And I want to be notified when we ever break protocol. So this admission protocol simply states that once we make a decision to admit, it should be no longer than 1 hour for that patient to have been departed from the emergency department. They cannot stay. They've made a decision to admit. They should be transferred out of the ED, right? So this allows us to build in this expected logic, right? And let us know only when we violate or when we have cases that don't match or meet our expected flow. So using this logic, I can use my show violations button and I get a list of all the different possible ways that this protocol was violated along with the root cause. So this is not just showing me that I had a protocol violation, it's telling me exactly how. Some step happened in the wrong position, we had a time violation, a step was missing altogether. So it gives me very detailed information as to exactly how this protocol was violated, should I have a need to then drill in on any one of these specific violations. Now, going hand in hand with these protocols and the queries is the ability to alert. So we can build in accountability by building alerts that notify us prior to these risks ever having an effect on our operations or our business. So if I had an alert that notified me at 40 minutes and again at 50 minutes, anytime that a patient was coming up against one of these unacceptable thresholds, I could then alert somebody, make sure they take care of it before it becomes a risk, and we can send those out via email, SMS, or connect to web services in order to build that accountability and make sure that people are notified prior to us having these issues within our operations.